Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crime Dawg Podcast with your host and content creator, Johnny FIORICA, who thinks getting up early is rolling his fat ass out of bed at 11 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crime Dawg Podcast. Your host, content creator, Johnny FIORICA, 30-year veteran, Rochester, New York Police Department, retired October of 2023. Sitting alongside me tonight, my trusted co-host, David SIMPSON. He is a 20-plus year veteran, Rochester Police Department, retired, legendary street cop, undercover cop, SWAT team member, and a homicide detective. David, welcome to the pod, brother.
Happy to be here.
Next on deck, Jason Blanchard's the man. He is served the Flower City 2.5 decades, worked all over the Rock, Genesee Lake, Clinton section, the lead hostage negotiator for the current RPD hostage negotiation team, self-proclaimed alpha male of this podcast, and he is a 1994 Hall of Famer of what we have no idea. Jason, welcome to the pod, brother.
Johnny, happy to be here. I'd like to point out that we've overcome some adversity tonight with technical difficulties, but we've pushed through like the Navy SEALs that we are. Not really Navy SEAls, but, you know,
maybe baby SEAls.
Through. Baby SEAls. We could be like baby SEAls. That's correct.
Yeah, maybe baby SEAls. Yeah, it's like when Jerry Rice played for the 49ers with the flu. It's kind of like when he did that in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Kind of similar to that.
I feel it's very similar.
Well, listen, folks, what Jason's talking about tonight, we are running into some technical difficulties. We're kind of like spitting chiclets right now, Jay and I holding our mics. We diverted from our studio because we felt like, I kind of effed up. I'm going to have to admit that. LOL. We have National Police Week. Tomorrow is National Police Day, May 15th. As you all know, Washington, D.C. Woke up this morning. I had an oh shit moment going, oh my God, what the hell did I do? We should have done some scheduling things, but here we are now running an official pod on our Riverside software, thanks to our main man, Danny Agnew, our producer. But we got it going. We're recording. And at the end of the day, here's what we got, boys. We can't do the Crime Dawg Podcast without doing something about National Police Week, right? So basically what I want to talk about is National Police Week not only honors fallen officers, it also honors the servitude of our brothers and sisters all over the country, all over the world. But it mainly focuses on our brothers and sisters that have been killed in the line of duty, and specifically like what's going on tomorrow, the next couple of days in Washington, D.C., our brothers and sisters that were killed in 2023. Just to throw some stats at you, Jay, this is probably the first podcast in many, many pods. You were the one who said, Johnny, F the stats, and let's just have some real talk. I listened to you, and it worked well, but this is one where we got to have some stats. Let's throw out the national report. It was done by the FBI. The study, and I'm going to read right here, right? So this way I don't mess anything up. Here's what the study revealed. From 2021 to 2023, more officers were killed, which was 194, than any other consecutive 3-year period in the past 20 years. 60 officers specifically, 60 of our brothers and sisters were killed in 2023. I'm going to tell you this, folks, right now. If you look at those dates, 2021 to 2023, and if you think, not trying to be a gaslighter, but it's a fact, if you think the 2022 riots, the defund the police, the bail reform, BS rhetoric had nothing to do with these stats, when I said more officers were killed than any consecutive 3-year period, you're out of your mind, and you're lying to yourselves. Guys, we had information that we got from also the FBI report that talks about the offenders, the suspects that killed our brother and sister officers in 2023. So here's what they said. So 60 officers were killed in 2023, 57 offenders, right? So there must have been one or two instances where they had multiple suspects. 54 out of the 57 were male. And they reported 8 having mental illness, and 32, more than half, 32 of those offenders, those suspects, 32 of those offenders had violence in their past offenses or past arrests. So, guys, that's a lot of stuff that I threw at you. But just to reiterate, 60 officers killed in 2023, 8 mental illness, 32 had prior history of violence. I don't know which one of you wants to respond. David, you want to go first? Or Jay, who wants to go first here? But this is crazy shit, man.
I'll jump in. One other thing is that in 2024, we've had a police officer shot every 21 hours. So
yep.
I thought that was pretty astounding. Yeah, it's I've been saying it, and I'm not the only one. There's a war going on against police officers, and it can't say it started during that time frame you mentioned with the riots, but it certainly picked up steam, and the flames were made even hotter during that time. I think when you have a narrative, and that narrative just gets pounded into bad guys' brains that the cops are the enemies, and that, you know, that the police are bad, and that there's a feeling that, especially in New York State, that the politicians in power, the Democrats, are much more aligned with the criminal element than they are the police or the victims of crime. And I think that all plays into a narrative of why these police officers are being assaulted. And a number of these officers were ambushed. You know, some of them, you know, a lot of them are, during domestics, and they're doing traffic stops. But there's been a number of incidents where cops are flat out ambushed, sitting in their patrol car or approaching a job, much like the Syracuse cops were approaching the house, and they were immediately opened up on. It's very sobering, and it has to end, and it's not going to end until people really start calling for stiffer penalties for people that attack and try to kill police officers, and those that are successful get hammered with life sentences or the death penalty. We've had 37 cop killers in New York State paroled in the last 6 years. So 37 people have gone out and killed a cop, served time, some of them very lengthy times, but they've been paroled. That right there sends a message. So there's a fucking war on cops going on, and it pisses off every cop and every retired cop, and we're going to keep banging that drum until someone listens.
Yeah, Jay, we had some, David threw some stuff that I want to get into our second segment regarding the assaults on police officers, but go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we got some crazy stats. Aside from the crazy stat of 60 cops being murdered last year, there's some crazy stats that I'm going to share with you guys in the second half here. What says you on this topic, Jay?
Well, I was just going to jump on the heels of what David said regarding the cop killers who get paroled. For the life of me, I don't understand that. I guess I don't understand anybody who's charged with a murder, right? That maybe sees the light of day again. I mean, people's lives are destroyed as a result of somebody's actions, and moreover, when an officer is killed in the line of duty, right? The officer's out there and acting as a protector of the community, and somebody snatches that officer's life, somebody murders that officer in the line of duty, and serves whatever somebody deems to be an adequate amount of time, and then they're paroled. That officer and their families were deprived of all of those years together and all those memories that could have been made. And it's astounding to me that anybody could make an argument for that person to be paroled. I don't give a shit what they did in prison to rehab or reform or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bring those officers back. And that, that's basically when an officer is killed in the line of duty, that sends a message to society, right? That's an attack on all of us. And, I was looking up before we did the pod as well. There's over 24,000 names on that police memorial. That's a lot of names, right? That's a lot of names. And there's some beautiful memorials in Washington, D.C. I had the opportunity to live down there for a little bit. And when you walk around the mall with the Korean memorial and the Vietnam memorial and all that, all those other memorials, World War II, but the ones that specifically list out the names, right? Vietnam, that was when our country was at war. Our country was at war, and those men and women, those soldiers are up on that wall because they died serving our country in a time of war. These officers are out here on the streets in our nation, and are being murdered in our streets. And there's 24,000 names on that monument. And, we've talked about Police Week, and I've never attended. I know you guys did. I've never been to Police Week in my 24 years here, but I can tell you that I've been to Police Memorial, and that memorial is, I'm not even articulate enough to put enough words together to say how impressive that is. When you go there and you just take a moment and you look at the lions guarding the edges of those slate walls that have the names of the officers on there. I mean, it gives you a hell of a lot of perspective as to the men and women and the sacrifices that they've made and their families have made, moving forward without those officers, being part of anything.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even count how many times, I've been down to Washington for National Police Week, and it's just crazy. It really is. It's just, the only thing is there's tearful eyes, there's chills, there's goosebumps, especially when you got to look at the family of our brothers and sisters that have been killed in the line of duty. And that's what always got me when I was at the memorial and whatever president was there speaking, because usually they all speak at the memorial. And just to be part of it was an honor. But the thing that really tugged at my heartstrings was watching, especially the young kids, the children, no matter what age, but the young kids, like especially under 15, under 10, it kills you, But anyway, so we're not trying to be morbid. We're just trying to honor our brothers and sisters, folks. Guys, so we had 60 officers killed, like I said, in 2023. 32, more than half, had violent pasts. So now that was from the FBI. I tracked down some Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, stats also today. This is staggering. This is staggering. In 2023, not only do we have 60 officers killed, 378 cops were shot. Okay. So the 60 that got killed, I can't even imagine what the number would have been, under different circumstances, right? Because the FOP actually, it's pretty cool. They talk about, technology with enhancements in our ballistic capabilities and our vests that we wear. They talked about a little bit on the study that not only the ballistic capability, but the medical staff, the trauma staff, the training of our medical staff. And that's something that Captain Frank Umbrino talked about, since he's the head of our homicide unit here. But he talked about it. He says, there could have been so many more homicides in so many more years, but the trauma staff, especially due to wars that we've had, the battle surgeons that come back and work in our communities. But we had 378 officers that were shot in the line of duty in 2023. That's disgusting right there. David, you touched on it. Yeah.
Johnny, I just wanted to just say one thing about that, right? And you said about our ballistic vests and all that other stuff. But think about the guys and girls, right, that are out there who've been shot in the line of duty. It's not like it's a flesh wound, number one. But number two, we don't have to look far. Think of Officer Tony DePonzio, who was shot in the line of duty, right? That young officer on the job, his life was forever changed,
altered,
and not changed for the better. He's dealing with a severe physical injury as a result of the actions of a suspect who once again has been paroled in the state of
back on the fucking street.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Officer DePonzio lives the rest of his life, dealing with the results of the suspect's actions. And, it's just horrific, horrific. And this, David, as you said, this idiot's back on the street.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, David, you touched upon it. So there's 378 officers, like we were saying, they were shot. 115 out of those 378 cops that were shot, 115 were ambushed. And the definition, for those that don't know, David touched on it a little bit. They could have just been sitting in their car. Someone walked on them. Ambush could have been, a domestic call. They thought that the significant other had left for the night, but they were really hiding in the bushes with some kind of weapon. Could have been a knife, could have been a gun. Or we could have had one of those fake swatting calls where everyone shows up and then the ambush happens. So there's thousands of different ambush things that could have happened. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is 378 officers were shot last year in 2023 and 115 were ambushed. Totally disgusting. Totally disgusting. David, when you got these guys, that were shot, that were assaulted, because another quick stat that I found really crazy, because I don't know the amount of assault or the injury of the person, but they talked on the FOP, 79,000 cops were assaulted last year. So we already know 60 were killed, 378 were shot, but you also had 79,000 that were injured in some way, some form, whether how minor it could have been. But one injury is too many. One injury is too many.
As we talk about this, I just flash back through my career and the amount of times that I was on scene right there when an officer was shot, or was responding to an officer that got shot, or worked as a member of the homicide unit on the murder of a police officer. And honestly, it puts me at a loss for words. It's very emotional. And the reason why I swear and get very passionate is because I get really pissed off when these people want to cry about stats and they want stat after stat after stat. Well, we've given the stats that right now tonight that show that there's a war on cops. And we're banging on that door and we're banging on the drum for someone to listen and someone for change the narrative and for some laws to be changed and for some enhancement to be placed and for our leaders in government to actually show that they support the police besides this bullshit rhetoric that they put out there, but actually stand up and have some legislation that shows that they care about the police and what they're doing. Because we've all stood there while a cop is lying on the pavement screaming, or they're dead and they were murdered by some asshole that it didn't need to happen like that. I've never been to an incident where a cop did something where they were going to get away by shooting the police. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no escaping. They wanted to kill a cop. Like that's what it came down to. He talked about when Tony got killed. Tony got shot because the guy wanted to shoot Tony. Like it wasn't because Tony was doing anything other than being a cop and on scene. Mm-hmm. When Flamore got shot and I was right there, he was cornered. He was trapped. There was no getting away. And he shot Flamore because he wanted to kill Flamore. And luckily he didn't, but that's what he wanted to do. It was just he wanted to kill a cop. So we get very passionate and I don't want to keep talking in circles, but something needs to be done and we're going to bang the drum and we're going to scream loud about it on this show until hopefully some changes are made.
Yeah, Jay, we couldn't do a Crime Dawg podcast, right, without honoring National Police Week and talking about our brothers and sisters and the sacrifices that made. Jay, why don't you take us home, brother?
I would love to think, as David talks about, being on scene and hearing that stuff, I'm sitting here thinking as well, right? And nothing is more horrifying, any of these men and women who've worked more than 3 seconds on the job, know that the most horrifying thing you're ever going to hear on the radio is shots fired, officer down, right? I mean, just saying it makes me, it's just you hear it and you got to get to wherever that is, at the speed of light, right? And it's we've heard it more than we care to ever remember, with the Rochester Police Department and our brothers and sisters nationwide, they hear it and we watch it on the news and it doesn't matter if it's in Cleveland like it was last week, or if it's in Syracuse like it was a month ago, or, if it was in Rochester like it was 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. It brings up all those memories like it was yesterday with more clarity than all of us care to remember. So, it's a great thing, this National Police Week. It's a great thing that we remember the officers and the sacrifices that they've made. It's a great thing that their families are able to see how important it is to their brother and sister officers that they're honored like that. And, like we say, if those brothers and sisters aren't forgotten, you remember them, then, their sacrifices weren't in vain. And you carry that with you through the rest of your career. So, I mean, it's something that none of us take lightly, and it's something that, you try to remember as you go on, right? Because we all have been there. We've said that. And, why was it somebody else and not, us
Sure.
or anything else? And it's just,
Sure.
These are things that you carry with you through the course of your career. But, I don't know that was a positive note, Johnny, that I tried to add on, but I did my best.
No, well, you had a great that take on it was very touching. I'm not being sentimental, but it was very good. I mean, as far as listening to that radio, we've all heard that come over the radio, and it gives me chills. I started to reflect on the multiple incidents that I was on duty, and I had to listen to that and respond to those scenes, and it's crazy. But this was a heavy topic. Usually we are more light. Usually we are jokey. We didn't feel that was appropriate. Not that we're trying to put on a show for you, but this is National Police Week. We honor our brothers and sisters. We honor the sacrifice that our past brothers and sisters have made. We honor the thoughts of our current brothers and sisters and wish for their safety every single night that they go out there and they don that uniform. May God bless their families that support them. We appreciate everything that you do. Jay, you're still on the job, brother. We appreciate everything you do. And we just want to say, God bless America. God bless our brothers and sisters in blue. Thanks for listening to our channel. Just remember, our website is thecrime.dogpodcast.com. Our YouTube channel is at Crime Dawg Podcast. We really appreciate you guys listening. Say prayers for our brothers and sisters. Thank a cop if you see them this week. It is National Police Week. And remember, folks, if you're listening to the Crime Dawg Podcast, for future episodes, like my brother-in-law Frankie Grassi says, if you can't make it, who cares?